When I got first the invitation to come here, the first words were Israel lobby. I said, wow, they invite me. AIPAC is inviting me. And then I said, that's the chance of my life. And I'm going to come there to Washington and to tell them, listen, with friends like yours, Israel does not need enemies. I think that we are dealing with a corrupting friendship. I think that if it wouldn't be the Israel lobby, Israel would have been today a better place to live in. Israel would have been a more just place. If it wouldn't be the Israel lobby, the United States would have been a better place and a more democratic place. Nothing can explain how administration after administration, legislators after legislators, are going in the very same way, which contradicts American interest in so many cases, which contradicts international law, human rights, moral value. It is very clear. Think about a relative of yours or a friend of yours who is, God forbid, a drug addict. There are two ways to deal with him. One is to supply him with money and he will go and buy more drugs. He will be very grateful to you. He will appreciate you. He will tell you, you love me, you are my friend, you are my best friend. The other way is to send him to a rehabilitation center. He will be so mad at you. But what is real care? And what is real love? And what is real friendship? And does anyone in this hall have the slightest doubt that Israel is occupation addicted? And reality is that there is no chance for a change from within the Israeli society. The Israeli society had surrounded itself with shields, with walls, not only physical walls, but also mental walls. The only hope is for an international intervention from Washington, from the United States, from the EU, because the Israeli society is by far today too brainwashed. And Israel, let's face it, is a society which lives in denial, totally disconnected with reality. Would it be a private person? I would recommend either medications or hospitalization, because people who lose connection with reality might be very dangerous, either to themselves or to society. Three principles which enable us Israelis to live so easily with this brutal reality. A, most of the Israelis, if not all of them, deeply believe that we are the chosen people. And if we are the chosen people, we have the right to do whatever we want. B, there was never in history an occupation in which the occupier presented himself as the victim. Not only the victim, the only victim around. This also enables any Israeli to live in peace because we are the victims. The third set of values is the most dangerous one. And this is the systematic dehumanization of the Palestinians, which enable us, Israelis, to live in peace with everything. Because if they are not human beings like us, then there is not really a question of human rights. Is it good for Israel? No, it's very corrupting. Because as long as the United States enable Israel to continue, why would Israelis go for a change? What incentive? Why would they bother?
Gideon Levy is a columnist for the Israeli daily Haaretz and a member of its editorial board.
Never was I so convinced that Israel and the United States are really sharing the same values. By the end of the day, we are dealing with two regimes which are very, very similar, with two regimes that have very little to do with democracy. By the late 80s, when I started to travel to the occupied territories as a journalist, when I realized that the biggest drama of Israel is taking place half an hour away from our homes, in our dark backyard, has almost no one to be interested in, all those crimes are taking place, and we Israelis, most of us, if not all of us, do not want to know, do not know, and above all, do not care. And it took me many, many years to understand how come. How come that this society lives for so many years with this drama in its backyard and feels so good about itself and has so little moral doubts, if at all? How is it possible? How is it possible that most of the Israelis are deeply convinced that the IDF is the most moral army in the world? Try to tell an Israeli, and I tried it once or twice, you know what, maybe it's the second moral army in the world. Maybe the army of Luxembourg is more moral. I don't know if Luxembourg has an army at all. They will be deeply offended. How can you dare? How come that when this reality is taking place so close to our homes, how come that we live in peace with it, that we continue with it, that there is no resistance, almost nothing? Can it be only this small group, as powerful as it is? Is it the full explanation? And the Israeli society lost connection with